What's up everyone, welcome back. Today we're talking about fishing lines. Specifically, we're going to break down Seagar Fluorocarbons, all their different main lines and their leader materials. I know a lot about this subject in particular, and I'll kind of get into that in a minute, but we'll talk about it now. Thanks everyone for watching. As you know, I love bass fishing tackle, and I'm always doing videos on bass fishing tackle, and I just haven't done a video specifically on line in a long time. I actually looked back, because I remember doing a video like this long time ago, kind of when I first got into YouTube, kind of got away from it. Now I'm posting videos on YouTube and Facebook and other places more regularly, but I did a similar video 8 years ago. So that is still out there, still gets views. I still see comments on that. So I thought it would be time, actually well overdue, to do a updated version with some of the newer line. Now, full disclaimer, I've worked with Seagar for over 10 years, so with that being said, I know a lot about the product inside and out, so I'm gonna give you some of the technical stuff, but really more, it's gonna be like real world applications, how I use it, how a lot of other people use it, and kind of how it fits into their fishing. So just throwing that out there. Now we'll start with basics. That is the entry level line. That is something really designed for someone who's just barely testing fluorocarbon. It's still a really good fluorocarbon, but it's really meant for someone who's always used monofilament and is curious about going to fluorocarbon, which is, like I said, it's a great line, it's a great budget line. But the next step up, and really as you keep going up, you're gonna get a better quality fluorocarbon as the price increases. But that doesn't mean the lower price stuff is bad. So we'll jump up to red label. So this is actually how I started with Seagar, and how a lot of people start with Seagar, because it is an affordable fluorocarbon that is very, very strong and tough. Now, the reason is it's a harder line, so that makes it more abrasion resistant. It has really good knot strength. It's just a really good fluorocarbon for those aspects. The downside is it is going to have more memory, so it's really not great for spinning, and it's just going to have more coils on it. Even bait casting, you may have to stretch it out if you haven't fished in a month or so. But again, that's because it's a harder line. So there are benefits to that. Like I said, the abrasion resistance, that's a great benefit of red label. Again, it's a harder line. So it is a great fluorocarbon. It does cost a lot less than these other ones we're gonna get into, but we're gonna keep moving up. And then we're gonna get to some of the newer leader materials, which is kind of a newer thing with Seagar, specific lines for leader. So the next one is Invisex. Now this is some people call it yellow label. I mean, there's all kinds of references for this, but this is consistently a bestseller on Tackle Warehouse, and it has been for years and years. It's just kind of a do-it-all line. It is a lot softer than these other lines, so that translates to better casting, easier management, less memory, so you can use it on spinning and casting. But it's a really soft line, but it's just a great all-around casting line. I love it for a jerkbait. That's a great technique for it. Anything where you're casting and winding a lot, I really like this. Crankbaits, spinner baits, anything like that where casting and line management is a big deal. That's where I use Invisex. I still use it tons. It is a great cranking line. 10 and 12 pound, I have tons. I go through that like crazy because I'm constantly using that for jerk baits and crankbaits, and changing out line every few months, so I have the freshest, best line. But it's a really good line that will last a long time, and there's a reason that it's consistently a bestseller. Moving up, we got Abrazex. So this is a slightly better fluorocarbon than Invisex as far as the quality. And as the name suggests, it's really designed for abrasion resistance. So I like this anytime I'm dragging something on the bottom. You're talking, football heads, swing heads, anything like that. Abrazex is what I use. Or square bills. I mentioned cranking with Invisex. If you're, banging a square bill into rocks and trees and things like that, that's when I use Abrazex. So it's really good for that. Now moving on, this is the top of the line. Everyone asks about this one. If you haven't used it, this is Tatsu. So this is a premium fluorocarbon that basically has all the best qualities of all these other lines. It is a lot more expensive, but it is a phenomenal line that lasts a long time. The other thing is it is a double structure fluorocarbon. So that's actually where they use two resins when they're extruding the fluorocarbon to make the line. So there's two resins, the double structure, so it's two parts. So there's this inner core, which is very strong. It's great for just strength. And then the outer core is softer. So that is gonna help with casting, tying knots, things like that. So like I said, it's like the best of everything. It is just a phenomenal line. I use this for a lot of techniques. Anything that I'm casting that I really need to be able to feel the bite really well. Finesse fishing with bait caster. There's just so many good applications for this Tatsu. It is just a phenomenal line across the board. So really, basically whatever your favorite technique is or whatever rod you're gonna use the most, if you're gonna do it, this will do it. You know, if you're gonna pick one, I would start with that. You know, whether it's a jig or something that you use a lot and you really need to kind of feel the difference, this is something to check out. It's a great, great line. All right, moving on, because like I said, I did that video 8 years ago, and that's basically where it ended, right there, with those 4 lines, or 5 lines with basics, but there's actually several leader materials and another main line as well that I'll throw in there as well. And that's R18. So this is fluoro limited. This is a Japanese line. Really, all of Seagar lines are Japanese, but this is for the Japanese market. It's a JDM line. So this has been there for years. Now it's available in America. I mean, it even has Japanese writing all over it. You can't even tell what it is. Now this is closest to Tatsu. The main difference, or there's a few differences, but the main thing is the sizes. They have really unique sizes. Like you see, this is a 7-pound, there's a 5-pound. So it's really meant to be dialed in. Like if you are using a 6-pound leader, but you wanna go to 7 or 8, you know, as you know, the Japanese are very specific with leader material and sizes, things like that, or just in general. So that is the reason. You could really dial it in. It's also meant for basically one spooling of a reel, because it's 100 meters or 109 yards. So it is a premium line, but it's kind of a one-shot deal for just spooling up one reel. That's the R18. It's a really good line, similar to Tatsu. Then we got 3 more leader materials I'll talk about. We got Pounce, which is kind of a newer, I mean, I think it's been out for 2 years now. This is a very stiff line that is meant for bass fishing as a leader. So this is a very, like I said, it's very stiff, it's abrasion resistant, great knot strength, meant for a leader. It's also not very expensive. I love it for skipping docks, specifically with a wacky rig. You know, put 12 or 15 pound on there and you have such a strong leader material. It's great when you're trying to pull fish out after you hook them under a dock and there's cables and there's, you know, cross members and, you know, wood and things like that. It is very, very strong and great for that technique. Then you got Gold Label. So this is their thinnest and strongest. So it's a very strong, thin line. I mean, it's really the best of everything. I personally like it best for smallmouth when they're really line shy, because you can use a heavier pound test and actually have the same diameter. So you have more strength, but you're not sacrificing anything. Or you can go down a size and have, you know, the same pound test and, you know, more freedom of movement of your bait, more natural presentation, you know, everything else. You're just kind of downsizing everything. So you can go up a size if you want to, you know, obviously have that extra strength without sacrificing anything, or go down a size, what you normally use, and just have a more finesse presentation for the same pound test. So that's kind of the quickest, simplest explanation for that. But this is also that double structure fluorocarbon. So it has kind of the best of both worlds, the strong inside, if you will, and then a softer outside for knots and strength and all those things. Last one, like I said, I'm trying to keep it very simple, and definitely feel free to ask me any questions down below. I'd love to try to help you or find an answer for you if you have any questions about these lines. But the last one is Grand Max right here. So this is pretty cool. This actually is several leaders, spools that just snap together, which is handy in itself. It's just a great idea. But this is another line that was from Japan. I dropped it there, and it's been around since the late 90s, so it's a very popular line. You know, a lot of Japanese anglers know what it is. It's just a everyday thing over there, but now it's available here. So this is also a double structure fluorocarbon. It's meant for a leader material. It's very strong with very little stretch, and then it's got a bunch of weird sizes like 3, 4, 5. I mean, just again, very detailed, kind of like that R18, where you can really be precise with what you want. So that's a pretty cool thing, just being able to make a difference. If you're, you know, feel like you need to go down, but you don't want to go from 8 to 6, you can go down to 7, or whatever the instance is. You can do that with this. So a really good line that is made for leaders, very popular in Japan, and now you can get it here. So that's a quick rundown. Like I said, I was just gonna make it quick and easy, kind of how I use them, where I use them, what they are. But again, let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for watching.